Hello, I'm live. My name is Robin Da Vinci, and I am coming to you again with some boomer wisdom and some boomer apologies and some really good stuff. So, welcome aboard. All right. For the first part, I'm going to do the boomer apology. And the boomer apology is this: because we were the really one of the first generations that wanted our children because we wanted children rather than other reasons, we sort of spoiled our kids rotten. Not everybody, but most of us. And a little bit in that spoiling, we took away critical thinking skills and coping skills by saying, we'll handle it. You just be a child. You just be a teenager. You go off to college. Be young, we used to say. I remember it. Oh, you go be young. Now, my mom never said that to me. I was supposed to help with the family finances from the time I was 11. But we said, no, you be in grade school, you be in high school, go off to college, live your life. You'll figure all this out later. Well, BS. We forgot to help you figure it out later. So here we are with an apology saying maybe we didn't give you all the critical thinking skills you should have had because we wanted to do it for you. We wanted to prevent you from having to do as much responsibility as we had when we were your age. And in that, there was probably a compromise, and we didn't necessarily do the compromise. So I want to say up front, the boomers actually realize that we probably should have been a bit tougher and not so grand in our gestures and glorious in our praise, that sometimes, getting a trophy for fourth place was probably a mistake. If you came in fourth place, you should just go eat pizza and do high fives, but you shouldn't get a trophy. Trophies were for the winners. Anyway, there's my apology. What I want to talk today to you about is your FQ. Now, I am not inventing any new thing. FQ is for financial quotient. What is your financial quotient? How do you get there? How do you be successful? Well, when I was coming up with my book, and I'm going to show you my book again because you can get it on my website and you can get it on Amazon. It's a good book. It's an easy read, and it will help you. It will help you look at those emotional triggers from childhood and some of the things the boomers screwed up and help you move forward with it. But anyway, I was talking to a friend, and this friend was coming to me for financial counsel. And I was going to my friend to kind of practice coaching. So we were working together many days, and we came up with this thing, and he was the one that decided it. And it was EQ plus IQ equals FQ. The FQ was the end result of EQ, which is your emotional quotient or your emotional intelligence, and IQ, which is your ability to learn and go forward. Now, I have a very loose translation for IQ, which I will go into after we tackle EQ. Now, EQ is something that is very serious. This is something that many authors have tackled. So if you go on and look it up on the internet and you type in emotional intelligence, books will come up on the subject. I am not inventing anything with here new or like that, but I am bringing to the forefront what EQ really works in your favor with. That didn't even make sense, but how EQ works. All right. So EQ is emotional quotient, and EQ is how you cope with basically everything in your life. And emotionally, we respond to money. And my part of the EQ plus IQ equals FQ is about finances. EQ goes on to behaviors and all these other things. And I'm telling you that it's actually a course in universities and colleges that you actually can take a course on EQ. And I recommend you reading the book on EQ, and it will enlighten you. There's even a test, and my business had a coach, a coach for conflict resolution and emotional quotient. And she actually took the standardized test, brought it to my team. My team took the tests individually, and it was very private. They didn't have to share it if they didn't want to, but it actually grades you on how you respond to things that are difficult or easy or emotional or financial. It actually shows you a snapshot of who you are emotionally. Now, I am not as schooled in it as the people who actually study it. So I'm telling you that I'm tapping into it a little bit and telling you that it would be in your best interest to really research emotional intelligence, emotional quotient. It is really important. So let's go to the emotional quotient of money. Let's go to what I believe is the emotional quotient of money. And you can probably get back up on the internet. But what I have found in my 36 years in business, and I became a bookkeeper at 17 to pay back my high school tuition because my mother couldn't pay it. I became a bookkeeper at the age of 17 in a pet pharmaceutical company in Los Angeles. I literally started bookkeeping just because I had some math skills, and I went with that. So I've been a bookkeeper since I'm 17 years old. But in my family, I was actually earning money and contributing to my household from the time I was 11. So I've got a long history of financial situations and emotional triggers. And my book is about emotional triggers. What did you learn as a child about money that causes you to act out as an adult and that sabotages you? And some of those things are fear, the unknown, having money handed to you without responsibility, um, having too much financial responsibility as a child, and then kind of throwing that aside as an adult, not really getting what people were talking about when you were little about not having money, not understanding that a credit card is not money, a credit card is actually debt. Hear that well. Credit card implies debt. Even if you pay your credit card off at the end of the month every month, you're carrying debt with you. So credit cards, while they're a privilege to have, they are also are a debt. So all those things that went into money emotionally that we didn't learn. Why didn't we learn it? Because it's such an awkward conversation. And not only that, but through time and generations, nobody's really talked about it. There's all this mystery around money. And so the mystery amount around money has caused all these conflicts as adults. I'm telling you how I grew up and see if this matches. In my household, and I've said it before, there was a lot of anger and violence around money and why there wasn't enough of it. And was there going to be a roof over our head? And what were we going to have food on the table? Were we able to participate in the community because we didn't have money? What kind of clothes did we wear? Did we have shoes? How did my mother go to work and work 10 hours a day and we were home alone? There was so much going on in my very blue collar neighborhood. And I grew up I went to school in South Central Los Angeles and grew up in South Central LA, basically in that whole neighborhood around Slauson and Crenshaw. So I grew up in a wonderfully beautiful, diverse neighborhood where most people had to work hard, but a lot of the people certainly had more than my family did. Now, when my father left, he did not feel responsible to us in any way. So emotionally, we were embarrassed, just embarrassed and crippled by the fact that my dad flew off and didn't send money home. So my mom was in charge of the money and she did a remarkable job, but there were a lot of scars and wounds from that time from age 0 to 17 before I started working. It was traumatic. And those are the things that guide how I do money today. I do have a fear factor that I can jolt into, like when a crisis occurs, all of a sudden you're back when you're 7 years old, worrying about if you're going to have food on the table. You don't know where the next meal is coming from. All of those things, they trigger how you spend. And sometimes it triggers you to spend more than you should. So because you say things, emotional things like, I deserve it, I need it, I work hard, I should be able to have that. And all those statements by themselves are true. You do deserve it. You should be able to have it. This is 2020. You should be able to have the things you need if you work hard. You should not be afraid. But that's not the case. And so without the critical thinking skills and without the coping skills that we were supposed to give you, and if we didn't pass them on to you, you might not be able to pass them on to your kids. The boundaries about your emotions and money have gone amok. And I mean amok. In times of stress, in times of need, you should be able to, within a little bit of time, step back and say, I'm going to be okay. These are the steps I'm going to take, and this is how I'm going to handle it. And you shouldn't spin off into spending money you don't have or getting extremely angry about money you don't have. Money is simply part of the equation of life. Now, it's an important one, and it's the one that drives us the most crazy. But it's really not fair to be damaging yourself and beating yourself up over stuff that you can't change or fix in the moment. Sometimes there's a long-term solution. So emotional intelligence about money is all I'm speaking about. How emotionally equipped are you to handle your money? Now, remember, emotional intelligence is a trademark, and I am not taking any credit for that. But your emotional ability to handle money is part of your emotional quotient. How can you, and how do you handle your money in a crisis? And not only in a crisis, but day to day. How wise are you? And when you feel that trigger coming, do you jump in and say, I'm just going to go with this feeling? Like, I'm going to go to a spa and I'm going to spend a couple $100 because I deserve it. I'm going to go buy that new car, throw caution to the wind. I'm short a couple $100 a month, but I'll figure it out. Are you sitting down cautiously and carefully and understanding that you're responding emotionally to a money situation, and you have to, where's your logic? Where's your maturity? And a lot of times we train people as they're growing up to be mature about certain things, but money is not discussed. I think that grade school children need to have a money course. I think high school needs to have a life course and a money course. And for sure, you shouldn't leave college without having all the resources at your fingertips to be able to manage your money when you get a new job, moving out of your parents' house, getting married, taking on a partner in a business. All those things require money, but they also require an emotional maturity to handle them. And I've got to say, in the vast majority of audiences that I've met and handled, the emotional maturity side of money is missing. And I am telling you that you've got to listen to me. I am not someone who hasn't been through it, so I get it. So you're not going to say to me, oh, you're up in your high tower and what do you know? No, I've lived it. I've lived it. I'm still living it. I'm still trying to get there, and I'm nearly 70 years old. I do not take this lightly. I take it very seriously. And I want everybody, even if you're 1 minute younger than me, not to have to go through all those steps to get to emotional maturity about money. So I think I'm clear. There are triggers from your childhood that cause you to not respond properly to a money crisis there, or even when you're flourishing and have a lot of money, you still might be making bad decisions. You need to look at money. People need to take responsibility. You've got to stop. You've got to stop what you're doing, step back, and make decisions based on strong emotions that have been sorted out. Can't just run amok with your emotions when it comes to money. I'm telling you, it's not safe. And I know, I see it all the time. I see trigger spending all the time. I see people that have all their credit cards saved online, and they go online and they just click a damn button and, oh, they can buy something. I'll worry about it next month when the bill comes. No, worry about it now. Take your credit cards off the websites. Keep them in your wallet. Keep them safe. Make it harder to spend money when you're in a crisis. And here's what my suggestion is. When you're in an emotional crisis, don't do anything. When you're high, emotionally happy, don't buy anything. Don't spend. When you're low, don't spend. Only spend when you're in an even place and you've analyzed it. So that's my quick look at emotional quotient, believe me, it's something that I've taken from studying emotional intelligence. I've pulled the money part out of it. There are experts and PhDs writing books about this, and you need to heed them and figure this one out. So now that you've got what I think is part of the EQ question, I'm going to go to IQ. Now, when I was little, I took IQ tests. Didn't know what they were. It stands for intelligence quotient, I believe. And I call it, what is your intellectual response to money? I am like diverting the IQ thing into what I think when it comes to money, it means. Now, IQ is a very odd thing. They test how smart you are. Well, there are people that might not test high with a number, but have so much street cred and street skills that they will survive the world better than someone with a high IQ that can't tie their shoes. Now, that's an exaggeration, and I'm not making fun of anybody, but I'm saying to everyone, your IQ in money situations is not based on how smart you are with like a subject. A PhD in psychology may not be able to handle their own finances. So to me, IQ in money means what would you call it? A very smart response to money. What is your considered response to money? How have you calculated your response to money? So it's more about, now that you say, okay, I'm going to watch my emotions, I'm not going to let them trigger. Now, intellectually, how are you handling the crisis? Are you going, woe is me, and calling up people and complaining? Are you writing it down in a list and saying, well, I can handle that, I can eliminate that, I can do that? Intellectually, I know I'm not going to starve. I have a community of people that can help me. I have places I can go to get assistance. I have some savings that I can use. I don't want to use it all, but I can in this situation. What is the most important for me to do? What is the least important? That's when your emotions and your intelligence collide and collaborate with each other. They actually become a collaborating entity, your emotional response to money and your intellectual response to money. Now, I am telling you, your intellectual response to money is based on critical thinking skills. What did you learn when it comes to a problem? Do you start screaming, you blow up, you cry, you run away, you hide, you eat a gallon of ice cream, you go out and drive fast, you take a 10-mile run, you go out and buy something, you buy purses or shoes, or you go golfing every day, or do, whatever it is you do when you have this emotional response to money. Your critical thinking skills kick in, your coping skills kick in, which is your intellectual response to money. That is the two working together. So intelligent people it really, to me, with money, doesn't have anything to do with the number of your IQ. It has everything to do with blending your emotional response and your logical response together. And when they work together, that's where FQ comes in. So we have this emotional response to money. We get that under control by using our critical thinking skills, our coping skills, and our intellectual response to a problem or a good situation. Oh my gosh, I just made a lot of money. I just got a big bonus. I just won the lottery. And what do I do with it there? Now you've seen lottery winners like fail miserably and be broke again within 2 years after winning 64 million. And then within 2 years, they've got nothing. And you go, how did that happen? That would never happen to me. It could. Number one, because you might not be emotionally capable of handling that much money. You might not intellectually have processes in place to not go overboard and take a step back and look at it. And number three, you might have a lot of people around you that are waiting to take some of the money from you. You have to have a response for that too. Do you? Are you as ready to succeed as you are to fail? That's where EQ and IQ come in. It makes you a success. So without them working together, you can actually fail at things. When they work together, you usually come out at least even. You come out at a place where you have some peace of mind. You can still sleep. You don't get a stomach ache when you're trying to eat. You don't wake up a nervous wreck in the morning, and you don't go to bed a nervous wreck at night. Those are the things that a good emotional response to money and a good logical response to money creates FQ, which is your financial quotient, which is your financial picture. Now, how can we do this and still keep our head up and be happy about maybe just making enough money to make ends meet, or worse? And I've done other videos about how to make sure you're getting the most out of your paycheck. And I talk about other ways to be financially successful, communication, and stop using your ATM. I've gone through all of those. But your financial quotient, your financial success is very much based on your ability to emotionally and intelligently handle each crisis that comes along, your regular paychecks, your business, your structure, all of those things. And you won't have financial success, really have financial success, if one of those is out of whack. And now you'll have people that have money, but they're not even attached to it. I don't know if you've ever met somebody who has a lot of money but doesn't really keep track of it, because things are going so well that they don't really know. They have people doing things for them. They have maybe an assistant or a bookkeeper, or they have a CPA that handles it, or they have a management company, and they stay very, very much detached from what they're all doing. And they say, oh, just give me a report at the end of the month. I don't need to know any of that. I'm going to tell you that that is very false. You need to know everything you're doing every day financially in order to have financial success. I check my books, both personal and business, every day. I reconcile them. I look at them. I make sure no one's charging me too much. There's no fraud in the accounts, that I know my cash flow. I do all of those. I'm not going to say every day, nearly every day. It never goes longer than 2 days where I've got everything checked. I go on and look at my credit card statements to make sure there's no fraud on them. I check my credit score. All of those things go into your financial success. I can't emphasize it enough. So in the future, I'm going to do videos on your credit score. How many of you do not check your credit score? Do you know you get one free one a year? And you need to go on and apply for your free credit score. And the problem is with the credit score is that you may not understand how to read your credit report. So I'm going to help you do that too. I'm moving around on this chair and making a noise, sorry. You need to know your credit score. So you need to know your credit score. You need to look at your credit card statements online, or at least when they come in through the mail. You need to analyze your credit score and your credit rating and the percentage you're paying of interest on your credit cards. You need to maybe consolidate some and get a better percentage rate. You can't just go off and not combine all of these. You need to analyze your stuff at least once a month. I say every week. Look at what you're doing every week. My last video said, or a couple of videos ago, you need to break down what it costs you to live per day. These are all the things that make your financial quotient better for you. Every time you step into something you're afraid of and figure it out and conquer it, you have done emotional intelligence, intellectual intelligence to gain financial intelligence. This is all part of that program of digging deep and finding out who you are. There's no shame in it. If you're 45 years old and haven't done it yet, start today. If you are 32 and haven't done it and you've got a lot of school debt, Start today. If you're just leaving college and you go, my parents, for some reason, now think I should be out on my own and I don't have any skills, let's make those skills. I am going to, on my website, robindavinci.com, in all of my videos, I am going to share with you my passion. As you can see, obviously I can talk a lot. I have a lot of passion about this subject and I want to pass it on to you. So you're never alone. If you're 18 and your parents have set you free, I'm going to help you. If you're getting out of college with college debt, I'm going to help you. If you're getting out of college, your parents paid for it, but now they want you on your own, I'm going to help you. If you're getting married and you guys have not discussed it, pick up my book Before You Get Married. Don't get married if you haven't discussed money. And if you two are wildly different on the way you look at money, you need to come together with your EQ, IQ, and FQ before you sign any paperwork and get hitched. I'm serious. Don't do it unless you've discussed your approach to money, because you could be in love totally and you guys are total opposites as far as money. One has no regard for it. One penny pinches. That one is very budget conscious and the other one has never had a budget. One has a job that's more low paying. The other one makes more money. You've got to talk all of that. You've got to delve into all of it, and I will help you. I will put together a video for the questions you need to ask each other before you get married. So, emotional maturity, logic, and intellect combined gives you the ability to have financial success, either alone, with a partner, with a spouse, with your children, with your elderly parents. All this conversation can go on and be successful, but nobody says anything. It's been like this forever. No one speaks about it. And then we put all this emphasis on things we don't understand. We say, oh, they've got $1 billion. They must be idolized. No, no, no. If you're living on $2,000 a month and you're getting through the day, you're a success. That billionaire may not know as much about money as you do. They've just either been lucky or they've handed it off to other people. So never, ever put yourself down for your money situation, but you can grow starting today. So my formula, EQ plus IQ equals FQ. I think I tried to trademark it. I'm not sure that it went through. There were a lot of hurdles, but it's my approach to how you can be financially successful. And I hope you understand what I'm saying, because I can take each one separately and get into it at a later date, or answer questions about it. Be happy to answer questions. So speaking of questions, good segue. I got a question from a viewer, a subscriber, regarding taxes. And this person, he or she, said, I have 2 jobs. How do I know I'm not overpaying tax? And that is such a good question. So my question back to this lovely person, whoever it is that there are 3 things with 2 jobs. Are they both W-2 jobs where you're an employee and you get a paycheck and your taxes are taken out? That is 1. Are you an employee with an outside job that pays you cash or straight money? That would be a W-2 and a 1099. That is totally different. Or do you have 2 1099 jobs where nobody takes any tax out and it's up to you? Those are the 3 scenarios. So I'm going to work on them briefly because I think it'll need a larger answer, but I'm going to try and answer. If you are a W-2 employee and both jobs are going to be there for the entire year, you can absolutely get a paycheck calculator, combine the 2 salaries, and put in single 1, married 3, whatever it is, and answer the questions, and it will tell you how much tax you should be paying. And then you can take that and divide it into the 2 and pay that. So maybe one job pays half what the other does. When you combine them, they will say, well, and it might put you in a new tax bracket. So do them individually on a paycheck calculator. Put in your single 1, married 2, married 3. I am a total proponent for if you're married and there's 4 of you in your household, take the 4, unless you know you're getting a bonus and you'll be underpaid. Take your deductions. Do not give the government the money. So take your 2 paychecks, put it in a paycheck calculator, put in your designation, single 1, married 3, whatever it is, and find out if those 2 paychecks are over withholding. That's one way. If they're somewhat equal and you're going to have 2 that put you in a new category, you're going to have to paycheck calculate that way because it will tell you if you're under withholding or over withholding. So do the paycheck calculator. That's the easiest thing for a W-2. If you're a W-2 and a 1099, that's trickier. It is possible, and you need to look into it. Let's say this 1099 is $1,000 a month. So that's $12,000 a year. Be prepared to pay at least 15.3% on that 1099 income plus some estimated. But, and here's the trick, if you have a W-2 and that's a solid W-2 for a whole year, you can increase your withholding on your W-2 a percentage plus another flat rate. Go to your HR director and request this. Your HR director could be your best friend in your company and over withhold for the paycheck to cover the tax you would owe on the 1,000. I used to do that when I was married long ago. My husband had a W-2 job and I had a sole proprietorship. So we would over withhold in his paycheck to cover my taxes so I could use my money for my business expenses and for distributions, and he would cover it, and we didn't owe. So there's a way to do that. It's a little complicated, but you can figure it out. And then if you have 2 1099s, which is straight money, we've got to talk about at least 15.3%, at least 15.3%, and some estimated taxes. Now, here's a trick for you people that have 1099s like I do. The government will not expect for you to pay more than 110% of what you paid the year before. So if you can say, oh, in 2019, I paid $7,000 in taxes, then as long as you pay in $7,700 in taxes for 2020, based on having approximately the same income and expense, you will be penalty proofed if you make a little more. So if your idea is to just break even, remember, to be penalty proofed, you pay 10% in addition to the year before. Get that in. You can pay it in 4 payments over the course of time. You can go on and print estimated coupons, and you can get that money paid in. Now, in this particular year, if you've made less money and you know you've paid in a lot, my suggestion would be to file your tax return as early as you can in 2021. I believe in the new year, you still can't file until like February 1st. But if you've overpaid in your old year, get that money back to yourself and start planning for your new year. So I know that there's been a year of crisis where everything's not gone as planned and that, your income situation is different. So we will circle back when things settle down and get some more specifics. So do you earn 2 W-2s? Do a paycheck calculator on each. Make sure you're paying in the right amount, and then combine them for a formula and go on Paychex Calculator, combine the 2, say what you are, and see if this all matches up. That's really important to do. I personally think if at the end of the year you owe under $800 in taxes, you've done a brilliant job. I don't like when you get back $5,000. That's ridiculous. You've probably put stuff on credit cards and paid high interest rates. That's a bunch of bull. Don't do that. But if you end up paying $800 at the end of the year when they do your taxes, I'm going to call it even, because that means you've really, really calculated well. And owing a check of $800 to the government is not a bad deal. That does not mean you failed. That they might put a little tiny penalty on that, but that is really close. If you start owing thousands of dollars, that means you underpaid your taxes throughout the year. And as advice, please go check in every quarter to make sure you're on task with your taxes. Don't leave it till the end of the year after everything's been done. You have a right to check monthly if your withholding is correct, but at least do it quarterly so that at the end you haven't paid in too much. You can reduce it down. If you, after September 30th, you go, my goodness, I've paid in $3,000 too much. You can change your withholding for the last 3 months of the year so that you end up even. Now, it's going to take you a little time to figure this out, and you might take a couple of years before you get your rhythm, but I'm suggesting that you go and own your paycheck, please. And don't allow anybody to take more out than they should, and don't allow anybody to tell you that you can't recalculate. Paychecks can be recalculated. Tax can be recalculated. Systems can be put in place. So I hope that answers your question, wonderful viewer. My website might tell you more about that, but those are the 3 suggestions I make. Okay. And if any of you have any questions, if this has been a valuable video for you, please press like and subscribe. I am here all the time. I am, like I said, a boomer who is dedicated to everybody that has to know this information. I want to get it out there. So consider me your dedicated boomer to all things finances. I am not a financial advisor, and I don't do investments. I am boots on the ground bookkeeper. I am boots on the ground accounting. I am boots on the ground business. As I've said, I was in business. I am still in business 36 years, and I have learned a lot, and I want to share it with you. So if you got value, if you loved it, please subscribe, please like, type in questions, ask me things. I'll try at the end of every video to answer a question that I'm getting, and I will direct you to the right place if I don't have the answer, because as long as I've been on earth, I still some things shock me. So I will try and help you and direct you to the right place. So goodbye for now. Like or subscribe, ask questions, and I will be back. Take good care, and know I care.